I am Emily Romero. I'm a longtime trauma therapist and have recently actually transitioned away from my one-on-one practice and now offer more speaking, writing, training around the self-trust model that I created. And yeah, the book that I just recently published called You Can Trust Yourself, all about the self-trust model. So
Yeah.
great to be here.
It's so great to have you. It feels like such a surreal moment because I've been reading your book and then like listening to you talk about your story and your life and how you created this model. And now I get to sit down with you and it's like the most exciting, best gift. So we can't wait to jump into what self-trust looks like. But maybe we start with a definition of what does it really mean to trust yourself and what does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah. So I really define self trust as a state of deep knowing that you can rely on your own internal compass to handle whatever is thrown at you in life. And so it's not built on or it's not based on the external circumstances. It's really based on that inner trust within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It feels so much more empowering than I feel like the model that a lot of us use, which is like, as long as I can control everything, I trust myself. As long as everything goes
Yeah.
exactly this one way, I can trust myself. And when it doesn't, then it's like, guess I couldn't trust myself.
Uh-huh. Yep. Really gets flipped on its head when you make a mistake or things don't go according to plan or, life throws life at you. Then you realize, oh shit, do I have my back in this situation too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like the way I've regarded self-trust is I trust myself to be this like all-knowing person and that I will make the right decision always because I trust myself. And then that really does get challenged when you make a decision that is met with challenges or you don't feel like it was the right one in the moment and you're like, fuck, can I really trust myself if I didn't even make that correct decision? So how do we work through that logic when it comes up when we feel like we didn't make the right decision, but we're still hoping that we can trust ourselves?
Yeah. And I love that perspective of just realizing that we're not going to always make the quote unquote right choice. And that's really not necessarily what builds trust. It's being able to make a decision and be decisive and take that action and then learn from whatever unfolds, whatever comes your way after that. It's again, trusting that you have your own back no matter what comes your way. And so even if you feel like, oh shit, this was maybe the wrong decision, it's like, great, you can now trust yourself to pivot in a different way because you have more information. And that's all, all that happens when we make a decision is we get feedback and we get more information about what we want to do moving forward. And we can always course correct. We can always pivot and change direction.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever stop second guessing yourself? Like once you've had a couple of those experiences under your belt where it didn't go the way you expected and you still had your own back, is that how you stop second guessing yourself and having anxiety around decision making?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
I can
Yeah,
guarantee
yes.
you all and all your listeners, I have a magic wand and you're going to stop second guessing yourself. Unfortunately, I don't have that. And I don't actually think we ever stop experiencing self-doubt. And I think that's not the point of cultivating and establishing more trust with yourself, is not to get to this place where, oh, I never doubt myself again. Because what I've experienced and what I've seen is the more that you build the trust with yourself, the more you cultivate this self-trust, then you actually start to put yourself into new arenas that you maybe never would have before. And so then the doubt rises to meet that new situation. You're like, well, I never would have, maybe for you guys, I don't know, maybe you've always wanted to start a podcast, but like maybe that was a scary thing to do. And so like, as you've gone through this journey of podcasting, like you've probably started to build trust with yourself through this process and then start to put yourself in new situations that would have been terrifying before that you never would have done.
Mm-hmm. I guess that makes a lot of sense. I just wish the answer was yes. I wish you got to a point where you're like, I am done with anxiety. Cool.
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes there are the people I tend to work with, and from my own experience, like I am just somebody who wants to continue to evolve and grow and change. And so maybe if somebody's like, oh, I got to this point where I'm just like, I'm content, I'm good here, then yeah, maybe you're not going to experience that doubt as much because you trust yourself and you're operating in the same kind of space day in and day out.
Yeah.
But if you're a person who wants to continue to change and evolve and grow, then yeah, you're probably going to always run into anxiety. You're always going to experience new fear and new doubt. But if we can start to see those as opportunities just to connect with those messengers and understand why they're there and greet them as if they were an old friend, you have a different relationship. So yeah, anxiety might still show up, but you don't have this like tense relationship with anxiety anymore. You're like, oh yeah, there's my old friend anxiety. Hey, good to see you again.
Yeah.
Tell me today.
I love that framing. And as I've been working on my anxiety personally, I've noticed a very different relationship with it where like now when it comes up, it almost feels a little bit fun. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, I do want to run towards that. Like I was telling Emma yesterday, I saw a woman at the store and I was like, she looks really cool. I'd like to be her friend. So I like went up to her and asked her if she wanted to hang out and I gave her my number. I never would have done that a couple of months ago. But it's like when I felt that desire to do it and then I felt the anxiety, I was like, that's fun. I'm going to push myself. And it felt so good. And now we're going to the farmer's market and like, I'm obsessed.
Oh my God. I love that so much. And it's like also that sensation in your body of like really feeling into what is this? Like, is this my intuition telling me, no, don't go talk to this person? Or is this like just fear? Because yeah, it's kind of scary to go up and talk to a stranger as adults and try to be friends, you know? And so you being able to tune into that and like kind of flush out what is this really? And then be able to go move forward with it. Like that's such a cool story.
Thank you.
We've gotten this answer from a couple of different guests when we've brought it up, but I would love to know yours. The difference between intuition and like a gut feeling of not wanting to do something, or you know what I mean? Where it's like, I can't tell what this feeling is, if it's my overall knowing or if it's something that I should like pause, look at, and maybe I don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I talk about this in the book, both the difference between anxiety and our intuition, because I think that's one that gets talked about the most often, but then also the difference between our intuition and wishful thinking, because sometimes we want something to be the answer. We want something to be what our intuition is telling us, when really that's just wishful thinking. And our intuition is telling us, no, sweetie pie, that's not it. You know, and so we have to really start to discern between those as well. But when I think about anxiety and intuition, I think your example, Cass, is a really good one, because it's that getting reps at feeling the sensation in your body of what does anxiety actually feel like, because anxiety feels different for all of us. And there might be some overarching things that we can have some similarities, but what I think happens sometimes is it gets oversimplified to anxiety feels bad and anxiety is constriction, and then intuition feels nice and easy and floaty. And I know for me, that just has not been my experience. I mean, there have been many times that my intuition has led me down some really painful paths that are like not fun and are hard and are challenging and that like I want to avoid, but I know that they're the right path for me. And so it's really tuning into what does actual intuition feel like for you. And again, it's often subtle. And so that's why we have to have practice and we have to have reps and we have to be connected to our body to start to pick up on those subtleties, and knowing that just because something is challenging or hard, it doesn't mean that it's not your intuition.
Yeah, because I've definitely had to do something. I think there's a way that you put it in the book that's beautiful, but it's like when you know, like, this is something I have to do for myself, and you know it's going to be so fucking hard, but you're like, God damn it, I wish my body told me to do something else, because I would choose it in a second if it was easier. But I feel like my intuition is telling me I have to do this. And I also want to circle back to the difference between intuition and wishful thinking, because as someone who wishfully thinks all the time, I do take that as my intuition telling me what I want to do with my life. And I feel like that's what we're told a lot by like TikTok readers and all of these things where it's like, imagine your life that you want it because it's already yours. So is that not our intuition and it's just wishful thinking, or like where is that line and which one can we work towards wishful thinking like we work towards our intuition?
Yeah. There's a lot, I think, in that question. And one thing I think that is, again, so my background as a therapist is in somatic work. And so somatic means, or soma means body. So it's really incorporating our physical body, our physical vessel, and not just our head. And so we're not just walking around as floating heads and trying to figure out our intuition and our wishful thinking and our anxiety from our head cognitive space. It's really actually dropping down into the body. And I know you guys have done a ton of episodes talking with other people who are like bringing you into the body, because that's where it's where life is in our physical body. And so I think intuition in this conversation so much is rooted in our body. And potentially another way to think about it too is asking yourself the question of, what does truth feel like in my body? And really feeling into, because, a lot of self-trust is learning how to discern between these things, discern between our intuition and our anxiety or our wishful thinking, discerning, learning yes or no. What is a yes in my body? What is a no in my body? Especially when we're in the sexuality space, like that's a huge thing to really, to superpower once you're able to really discern between what's a yes, what's a no, what's a not quite yet. And, but also being able to discern what is just truth in my body. Because for me, when I think about intuition, that is how it lands in my body, is just like, this is just truth. And it, again, sometimes it's heartbreaking. Sometimes the truth is heartbreaking. And so I give the example in the book about my first marriage and that decision to leave that relationship. And that was heartbreaking. And again, all the wishful thinking in my head could not counter the truth that was in my body of like, this needs to be done. And so I'm not sure if that answers your question, but it's like this, I don't necessarily think the goal is to just chase after the whatever the wishful thinking is, because sometimes the truth is the hard path that is right.
Yeah.